Ethan laughed loudly, his friends joining in. The small party was alive with chatter, the hum of music, and the faint glow of colored lights from the ceiling panels. It was his 18th birthday, and he felt untouchable. A young engineer in training. He had dreams bigger than the small colony on the edge of the Orion Belt. "You know," Ethan said, leaning back against the wall with a smirk, "if an alien girl ever came to me, I'd marry her without thinking twice." His friends froze, then erupted into laughter. "Ethan, you're ridiculous!" one shouted, almost spilling his drink. "An alien girl? Seriously?" "I mean it," Ethan said, grinning. "I don't care what species she is. If she's smart, funny, and beautiful, I'm done. I'd marry her right on the spot." More laughter followed. Some teased him about being too naive. Others joked about how he would probably faint if he ever met one. Ethan just laughed along, enjoying the thrill of attention. He did not know that high above the colony, in the dark vastness of space, a small hidden ship drifted silently. Its surface shimmered in strange colors that the human eye could barely detect. Inside, sensors and screens flickered, observing the party below. The ship's commander, a tall being with glowing blue eyes, tilted his head. "Record everything," the commander said in a soft, musical voice. "This human, he speaks a promise. Mark him for observation." The young Zillaran scout did not smile, at least not in any way humans would understand. But there was something like curiosity in the glow of their eyes. To the Xylarans, spoken words were important. They were bonds, even if they were jokes, and this one would not be forgotten. Ethan continued to celebrate, oblivious to the watchful eyes far above. He talked, danced, and joked about the many impossible things he would do if aliens ever came. His friends teased him relentlessly, but he only laughed harder. To him, it was all fun. Just a joke, a story he would tell for years. Years passed, and the colony changed. Ethan grew taller, stronger, and wiser in some ways, though he never lost his love for jokes and stories. He became a skilled engineer, working on starships and colony machines, admired for his quick thinking and clever solutions. But even as he focused on work, he sometimes remembered that joke. He would laugh quietly to himself, imagining a strange, alien girl appearing to collect on it. No one else ever seemed to take the joke seriously. His friends had moved on, his family had laughed and forgotten, and the galaxy went on with its endless spinning of stars and worlds. But somewhere, in the dark space above, the Xylaran records still held his words. The promise had not faded. On a quiet morning 16 years later, Ethan was in the workshop, fixing a small shuttle's engine. The hum of machinery was his comfort. He loved the smell of oil and the precise feeling of tightening bolts. He worked, alone as usual, and the colony seemed calm. Then a shadow passed over the sun. He looked up through the skylight just in time to see something impossible, a massive, sleek ship descending from orbit, shimmering in colors that no human eyes had ever seen. The workshop's alarms went off, but they seemed almost secondary to the sight above. Ethan's heart skipped a beat. He ran outside, along with other colonists, who were staring up in fear and amazement. The ship's hull was enormous, shaped like a flowing sculpture, smooth and radiant. It made no sound, yet the air seemed to hum with its presence. A landing bay opened and figures stepped out. They were humanoid, but taller than humans, with skin that glimmered softly, like moonlight reflecting on water. Their movements were precise, elegant, and every colonist felt a shiver at their grace. Among them was a figure that seemed to command attention without saying a word. A woman, tall, radiant, with eyes that shone like stars. She looked directly at Ethan, and in that moment he felt as if someone had reached across space and time to touch him. The colonists panicked. Some ran for cover, others froze. Ethan, though, could only stare. He felt a strange mix of fear, disbelief, and curiosity. "I am Liara," the figure said, her voice musical and clear. carrying over the crowd without a speaker. "I have come for Ethan, the one who spoke a promise 16 years ago." Ethan laughed nervously. "Wait, what? You're real? This can't be real." Liara tilted her head slightly, a gesture of patience and calm authority. "Your words are real. You spoke them freely. And now, as our custom demands, I have come." The other colonists whispered among themselves, but Ethan was frozen in place. 16 years ago, he had laughed, thinking his words meaningless. Now, the words had arrived in living, breathing form. "Wait," he said, trying to find humor in the impossible. You're here because of a joke I made at a party? Seriously?" Liara's eyes flickered slightly, a gesture almost like a smile. "Even jokes, when spoken with intent, can bind. I have observed your life since that day. You have grown in skill, in courage, and in character. You are worthy." Ethan shook his head, still half laughing, half terrified. "I don't know if I'm ready for this. I mean, this is crazy." "You are not being asked to decide yet," Liara said calmly. "But know this, the promise is not empty. It waits for you." For the first time, Ethan realized that the universe was bigger, stranger, and more unexpected than he had ever imagined. What had started as a joke might now shape the rest of his life, and as he looked at Liara, standing with her radiant calm and alien grace, he felt the truth of one thing. Sometimes even a joke can change everything. The colony was buzzing with confusion and fear. Alarm sirens echoed through the streets, while colonists scrambled for safety or gathered in small groups, whispering rumors about the massive, shimmering ship hovering above. Children clung to. Their parents and even the bravest workers hesitated, unsure what to do. Ethan stood in the open plaza, staring at Liara. The alien girl was unlike anything he had ever seen. Her skin shimmered like liquid silver, and her eyes glowed faintly, with a soft blue light. Her movements were smooth, controlled, and elegant, like a dancer moving to music only she could hear. She was calm, confident, and completely unafraid of the humans around her. "Ethan," Liara said, her voice clear and calm, "come forward. I am here to speak with you alone." Ethan hesitated. He had spent 16 years joking about this moment, and now it had come true in the most unbelievable way. "Alone?" he asked, glancing at the crowd. "Won't people be scared?" Liara inclined her head slightly. "Fear is not my concern. You have spoken a promise. It is between us now." He swallowed hard and stepped forward. Every colonist watched, some in awe, others in fear. He felt a strange mixture of pride and embarrassment. Pride that someone had taken his words seriously, and embarrassment because he had never imagined they would actually act on it. The plaza emptied slowly, leaving Ethan and Liara standing under the wide alien ship. Its surface glimmered with strange light, casting long shadows across the ground. Ethan took a deep breath. "So," he said nervously, "you're here because of a joke I made 16 years ago?" "Yes," Liara replied. She studied him carefully, her expression unreadable. "Even jokes carry weight when spoken with intent. Your words were honest and they have been recorded. I am here to honor them." Ethan scratched his head. "Recorded? Someone's been watching me for 16 years?" Liara's eyes flickered. "Observation is necessary. Your growth, your choices, your character, all have been noted. The bond requires a worthy partner, and you have been assessed." Ethan's knees felt weak. He tried to joke, because joking was what he did when he was nervous. "So, you've been spying on me all this time?" Liara's lips curved slightly, almost like a human smile. "Not spying. Observing, learning, preparing. Now the time has come to meet." He laughed nervously, trying to hide the sudden tension in his chest. Well, I guess this is better than an exam. Sort of. Liara tilted her head. You will face tests soon, but not yet. First, you must understand the ways of my people. What ways? Ethan asked. I barely understand humans most days. You will learn quickly, Liara said, stepping closer. Her presence was calming, yet commanding. The Xylarans value honor, courage, and intelligence. You will need to demonstrate these traits to prove yourself worthy of this bond. Ethan swallowed hard. Bond? So this isn't just a visit? Liara shook her head slightly. The bond is real. It is not trivial. It is not simply a joke. It is an agreement recognized by my people. You spoke it freely. Now it is time to decide what you will do with it. Ethan's mind raced. He had dreamed of adventure and space travel, but he had never imagined it would start with an alien girl literally appearing in his life. He looked up at the massive ship, the glowing figures around him, and then at Liara, whose eyes seemed to see right into his soul. I don't even know where to start, he admitted, his voice small. I mean, this is all so overwhelming. Liara nodded, as if expecting the answer. Begin by observing. Watch, learn, adapt. You are human, and your strengths lie in your creativity and flexibility. These will serve you well. Ethan blinked. I'm supposed to adapt to you? You are also learning about yourself, Liara said softly. Your people are different from mine, but there is potential in both. This is an opportunity for growth, for understanding, and perhaps for friendship. Ethan laughed quietly. Friendship, huh? That sounds safer than bond. But I guess I don't have much choice. Liara's lips curved faintly. Choice always exists, Ethan. But one must be willing to face consequences. You spoke a promise. Now you must meet it. The next hours passed in a blur. Liara guided Ethan through the colony, observing his work, his problem-solving skills, and his interactions with others. He showed her how he repaired a failing generator with minimal tools, impressing her with his quick thinking and ingenuity. You humans are fascinating, Liara said. You solve problems in ways that defy prediction. Your creativity is unexpected but effective. Ethan grinned. Thanks, I think. I never imagined anyone from your planet would care about how we fix machines. You are learning the first lesson, Liara said. Strength is not only physical. Intelligence, patience, and adaptability are just as important. Remember this. As the sun began to set, Ethan realized that despite the fear and confusion, he was enjoying Liara's presence. She was not judgmental. She was curious, patient, and strangely encouraging. He felt a spark of admiration, though he did not fully understand it yet. That night, the colony held an emergency council. Colonists were divided. Some feared the Xylarans, others were curious and awed. Ethan stood beside Liara as she explained her purpose without revealing the full scope of their bond. She spoke of honor, of promises, and of human potential. The time the council ended, the colony had accepted her presence, at least temporarily. People began to see her not as a threat, but as an extraordinary visitor. And Ethan realized that this was only the beginning. He looked at Liara, standing tall and glowing softly in the moonlight. The girl from his joke had arrived, not to scare him, but to challenge him, to teach him, and perhaps to change his life forever. For the first time in 16 years, Ethan understood the weight of words and the unexpected ways the universe could answer a simple, careless joke. The next morning, the colony was alive with a mix of excitement and tension. Word of Liara's arrival had spread quickly, and people were talking in every corner, sharing stories and whispering theories. Some were afraid, others were curious, But all eyes seemed to turn to Ethan. After all, he was the one who had spoken the promise 16 years ago. Ethan felt the weight of their attention, but he tried to act normal. "Relax," he told himself, adjusting his work gloves. "It's just another day, with an alien girl." Liara was already waiting outside his workshop, her luminous eyes scanning the colony. When she saw him, she inclined her head gracefully. "Today we begin your lessons," she said. Ethan blinked. "Lessons? I thought you just came to check me out or something." Liara's expression was calm, but there was a hint of amusement in her glowing eyes. "Your people often underestimate the importance of learning. You will need guidance to understand our customs, our expectations, and most importantly, yourself," he groaned. "Great. Lessons from an alien girl. This should be easy." She didn't respond, only gestured for him to follow. Together they walked through the colony, moving past buildings, workshops, and crowded streets. People stared, some whispered, and a few even bowed slightly to Liara, out of respect or fear. Ethan wasn't sure which. Their first stop was the colony's central generator station. A minor malfunction had caused several energy conduits to flicker, and Ethan saw this as an opportunity to show his skills. Liara watched silently as he climbed into the maintenance shaft. He twisted wrenches, adjusted circuits, and rerouted power lines with practiced hands. Sparks flew, but nothing dangerous. Within minutes, the system hummed steadily again. She tilted her head, impressed. "Your methods are unconventional, yet effective. Humans rely on creativity where others might follow rigid rules. This is a strength." Ethan laughed. "Thanks. I like to think of it as problem-solving without instructions. Or maybe ignoring them." Liara's faint smile appeared again. "Sometimes, ignoring rules is necessary, but knowing when to follow them is just as important. Your people balance this instinctively, though many may not realize it." The morning passed with small lessons. She observed him repair equipment, interact with colonists, and navigate the bustling colony. Ethan realized that Liara was not only teaching him about Xylaran ways, but also showing him how his human traits, ingenuity, humor, adaptability, were valuable in ways he had never considered. By midday, they moved to the colony's training grounds. Liara guided him through a series of exercises, not physical, but mental and strategic. She presented puzzles, technical challenges, and scenarios where he had to make quick decisions under pressure. Ethan struggled at first. The puzzles were unlike anything he had seen, relying on logic that twisted in unexpected directions. But slowly, he began to understand the patterns, learning to think like the Xylarans without losing his own human perspective. "You are improving," Liara said after he solved a particularly tricky problem. "But remember, adaptation is as important as speed. The universe does not reward repetition. It rewards innovation and courage." He wiped sweat from his brow. "Innovation? I'm just trying not to break anything." "Even breaking things can teach lessons," Liara replied. "Failure is a teacher if one pays attention." As the day went on, Ethan noticed a strange change in himself. Where he had once been reckless and careless, he now thought carefully, considered options, and began to anticipate outcomes. The lessons were not just about Xylaran customs. They were about seeing the galaxy differently, valuing patience, and understanding responsibility. When evening came, they returned to the plaza. Colonists had begun to relax, watching Ethan and Liara with curiosity rather than fear. Some even approached to ask questions, and Ethan found himself explaining both human and Xylaran perspectives. Liara listened silently, occasionally adding observations that left people in awe. "Your people have resilience," she said quietly to Ethan when the crowd had dispersed. "You think quickly, adapt to challenges, and face the unknown with courage." These traits are rare, even among the stars. Ethan felt a mix of pride and embarrassment. Thanks, I guess. I never thought just being human would matter so much. Liara's eyes softened, as if acknowledging his humility. It matters more than you realize. Strength is not only measured in force or technology, but in character, in decisions, and in the courage to act when others hesitate. That night, Ethan sat alone on the roof of his workshop, looking at the stars. Liara had returned to the ship, as she preferred solitude when observing. But her words stayed with him. He realized that this was not just about a joke or a promise. It was about growth, responsibility, and the start of something far larger than himself. The colony had changed, too. People had seen the first signs of collaboration between humans and Xylarans. Fear was turning into curiosity. Rumors of Ethan's bond with Liara spread, and he could hear whispers of admiration in the streets. For the first time, he felt the weight of being noticed, but not for his mistakes or failures. This time it was for what he could do and who he could become. As he gazed at the stars, Ethan could not shake the feeling that the universe was watching, waiting for him to take the next step. And with Liara's guidance, he would face whatever came next, not as a boy who joked about marrying an alien girl, but as a human who was learning to stand strong, think differently, and embrace the unknown. For the first time in his life, he felt ready. Ready to meet the challenges ahead. Ready to prove himself. And perhaps, ready to understand Liara, not just as an alien from a distant star, but as someone who had become part of his story in ways he never imagined. The night air was cool, the stars bright, and Ethan knew one thing for certain. His life had changed forever, and the adventure had only just begun. The morning sun bathed the colony in warm light, but Ethan felt a strange tension in the air. Today was different. Liara had spoken of tests, challenges he would need to face to prove himself worthy of the bond. He had spent the previous day learning, observing, and adjusting to her ways, but now the real trial was about to begin. Liara waited at the edge of the plaza, her posture straight and eyes calm as ever. She gestured for Ethan to join her. "The tests begin now," she said. "They are designed to measure your courage, intelligence, and honor, not your strength alone, but your character. Be prepared." Ethan swallowed hard. Character tests? I thought we were talking about practical stuff like repairing engines and solving puzzles. "Those were preparation," Liara replied. "Now you face judgment. Your people's creativity and adaptability will guide you, but you must act wisely." The first challenge took place in the colony's old training grounds, a vast open area filled with obstacles, mock machines, and holographic simulations. A Xylaran council had arrived, their tall, glowing forms casting long shadows over the humans. Ethan felt the weight of their observation. "You will face the first test," Liara said. "It is a trial of courage. You must enter the hazard zone, retrieve the module at its center, and return it safely. Many have failed." Ethan glanced at the hazard zone. Sparks flew from broken machinery, and strange, shifting lights created an illusion of danger around every corner. The human in him wanted to hesitate, but he remembered her words. Courage was not absence of fear. It was action despite it. Taking a deep breath, he stepped forward. He moved carefully, assessing each obstacle. The zone seemed designed to confuse him, but Ethan relied on his human ingenuity. He rerouted power lines to stabilize certain hazards, used tools in unexpected ways, and avoided traps with quick thinking rather than brute force. Halfway through, a small malfunction caused a mechanical arm to swing unexpectedly. Ethan dove, rolling to safety. His heart pounded, but he smiled slightly. "Not bad," he muttered under his breath. He continued, determined, until finally he reached the module. Carefully, he lifted it, feeling the weight of both the device and the challenge. Returning was harder. Obstacles had shifted, sparks flew, and some machinery threatened to collapse. But Ethan adapted, moving with strategy, not haste. When he finally placed the module in the designated area, the council's glowing eyes brightened. Liara's faint smile confirmed his success. "You have shown courage," she said, "but this is only the beginning." The second test was mental. Holographic puzzles appeared, twisting in ways that defied normal logic. The council watched as Ethan tried to solve them. He struggled at first, unsure of the rules, but then he remembered the lessons from the previous day. His human creativity allowed him to see solutions the Zolarans had not expected. He solved the puzzles not by following patterns, but by thinking outside them. Liara observed silently. "Your people's strength is their unpredictability. You see solutions where others see obstacles. This will serve you well." The third test was a test of honor. Ethan was presented with a scenario in which a colonist, or a Xylaran visitor, was trapped in a dangerous area. He had to choose between completing the challenge quickly or helping them, risking failure. Most humans might have focused solely on completing the task, but Ethan's instinct was to help. He ran to save the colonist, using clever tactics to protect both of them and still finish the challenge. The council's eyes flickered, acknowledging his choice. Liara's voice was soft but proud. "Honor is not measured by words or promises alone. It is measured by action. You have passed this trial." By the end of the day, Ethan was exhausted. His hands were scraped, his clothes torn, and his mind was spinning from the challenges. But he had learned more than he could have imagined. Courage was facing fear, intelligence was creative problem-solving, and honor was acting selflessly. Liara approached him as the sun set. The sky glowed with shades of purple and gold. "You have done well, Ethan. You have demonstrated traits that are rare, even among your own people. You have passed the tests, but there is still more to learn." Ethan wiped sweat from his brow. "More? I thought surviving today was enough." Liara's eyes glimmered softly. "The journey of growth never ends. Today, you have proven your character. Tomorrow, you will learn the importance of trust, cooperation, and understanding, the traits that bind us across worlds." Ethan nodded, slowly. "I think I understand a little, but this is all so new. I never imagined I'd be doing anything like this. 16 years ago, it was just a joke." Liara's lips curved slightly. A joke can carry weight if spoken with intent. "You laughed then, but you acted honestly, and that honesty has brought you here. The universe has a way of answering even careless words." As night fell, the colony was calm. The colonists had watched Ethan's trials and were beginning to see humans in a new light. Courage, intelligence, and honor, qualities they often overlooked, were being displayed not just by Ethan, but as a reflection of humanity itself. Ethan sat outside his workshop, looking at the stars. Liara returned to her ship, but her presence lingered in his thoughts. The tests had been hard, but he felt stronger, more confident, and more aware of his own potential. The bond he had joked about years ago was no longer a joke. It was a real challenge, one that could shape the rest of his life. And as he gazed at the vast galaxy above, Ethan realized that this was only the beginning. The universe was bigger than he had ever imagined, full of challenges, mysteries, and unexpected connections. He had faced fear, solved impossible problems, and acted with honor. Tomorrow would bring new lessons, new experiences, and perhaps new discoveries about Liara and himself. For the first time in 16 years, Ethan felt a sense of purpose deeper than any joke. The adventure had only just begun, and he was ready to face it, guided by an alien girl who had come to collect, on a promise, and by the human strength that had always been quietly waiting inside him. The colony was quiet at first light. the sun casting pale gold across the buildings. Ethan was already at work, repairing a shuttle engine in the workshop. Liara had returned to her ship after the day's lessons, leaving him to think, plan, and recover from the intense tests of courage and honor he had faced. Suddenly, alarms blared. Red lights flashed across the colony and a loud voice echoed through the speakers. "Alert! Incoming unidentified ships! All personnel, take cover and prepare defenses!" Ethan froze. He had faced challenges, puzzles, and moral tests, but this was real danger. He looked up at the sky and saw them, dark, sleek ships, moving swiftly toward the colony. They were unlike anything he had seen before, aggressive, cold, and clearly hostile. Liara's ship descended quickly, landing beside the colony's central plaza. She emerged gracefully, her eyes glowing with intensity. "Ethan," she said, her voice sharp and calm, "this is a real threat. You must help defend your home. I will guide you, but your decisions will matter." Ethan's heart pounded. He grabbed his tools and nodded. "All right, let's do this, together." The first attackers reached the colony's perimeter. They fired energy weapons that struck the ground with explosive force. Colonists screamed and ran for cover. Ethan, following Liara's lead, ran toward the defensive stations, quickly assessing what could be done. "Your ingenuity will help us," Liara said. "Humans think differently. Use that to our advantage." Ethan quickly scanned the damaged defensive turrets. Some were broken, some misaligned. He rerouted power, adjusted targeting systems, and improvised new firing sequences. Sparks flew, but the turrets came to life, firing accurately at the incoming ships. The hostile attackers were strong, fast, and smart, but they were not prepared for Ethan's creativity. He created makeshift shields from scrap metal, built traps from abandoned machinery, and found unexpected ways to mislead the enemy. Each human idea surprised Liara, even after years of observation. "You humans are unpredictable," she said, firing her energy weapon with precision. "It is both frustrating and remarkable." Ethan smiled briefly. "Thanks. I try my best." The battle raged. The attackers were relentless, but Ethan's quick thinking, combined with Liara's advanced technology and the colonists' courage, began to turn the tide. He directed colonists to safe positions, coordinated defensive measures, and even used minor explosions to funnel enemy ships into traps. At one point, a hostile drone broke through a barrier, heading straight for the energy generator. Ethan grabbed a spare module and threw it onto a control panel, causing a controlled short circuit that disabled the drone without harming the generator. Liara watched him, her eyes reflecting admiration. "You are more capable than I expected," she said. "Your creativity, courage, and quick thinking are proving invaluable." The attackers hesitated, confused by the humans' unconventional strategies. Ethan realized that their unpredictability was the key. Where advanced alien forces relied on precision and planning, humans adapted instantly, using improvisation and intuition. Each counterattack he devised seemed to frustrate the enemy, and slowly, their advance slowed. Finally, after hours of careful coordination, the colony's defenses held. The hostile ships, unable to predict or counter the humans' strategies, retreated into space. The alarms stopped, and a tense silence filled the plaza. Ethan slumped against a control panel, exhausted but exhilarated. Liara approached, her glowing eyes calm again. "You have proven yourself, Ethan," she said softly, "not only in tests and lessons, but in action under pressure. Courage, intelligence, honor, and adaptability. You have shown all of them." Ethan laughed quietly, wiping sweat from his brow. I didn't know I could do all that. I was just figuring things out as I went." "That is the strength of humanity," Liara said. "Your ability to think differently, act unpredictably, and adapt to every situation is what makes you exceptional. Even among the stars, few can match it." Colonists began emerging from their hiding places, looking at Ethan with admiration. They had seen him act bravely, make smart decisions, and protect everyone, including themselves. Humans were no longer just simple colonists. They were problem solvers, innovators, and heroes in the eyes of both humans and Xylarans. Ethan looked at Liara, who stood beside him calmly, almost like a guiding star. He realized that her presence had not only pushed him to grow, but also highlighted the best qualities of humanity: humor, creativity, courage, and adaptability. They were traits that no advanced technology could replace. "You've changed the way your people see themselves," Liara said quietly. "And you've changed the way we see humans. Your actions today were remarkable." Ethan smiled faintly, feeling proud but also humbled. "I guess sometimes a joke can lead to real adventure, huh?" Liara's lips curved faintly. "Even a joke can become something meaningful. The universe responds to intent, action, and courage. You have learned this, and you have acted wisely." As the sun set, the colony began repairs and recovery. Ethan moved among the colonists, helping with minor fixes, organizing supplies, and sharing instructions. Liara remained nearby, a silent observer, but her presence reassured everyone. The humans had shown they could face danger, adapt quickly, and work together with an alien ally. That night, Ethan sat on the roof of his workshop, staring at the stars. The battle had been exhausting, but it had taught him more about himself than any lessons or tests could. He had faced real danger, relied on his wits, and protected others. And he had done it alongside Liara, who had come to collect on a promise, but had instead become a partner in survival and growth. He realized, as he watched the galaxy stretch endlessly above, that the universe was bigger, stranger, and more full of possibility than he had ever imagined. And for the first time, he felt ready, not just for the next challenge, but for whatever life or the stars might throw at him. The bond that began as a joke 16 years ago had become something far greater. It was now a partnership, a test of courage, and a lesson in what humans could achieve when they embraced who they truly were. And as he closed his eyes under the night sky, Ethan knew one thing for certain: the adventure was far from over. The universe had only just begun to show its surprises. The colony was quiet in the early morning light. Repairs were nearly complete after the attack, and life slowly returned to normal. Ethan walked through the streets, watching colonists rebuild, laughing quietly as children played near repaired walls. He felt a sense of accomplishment, but also a deep awareness. Liara's presence had changed everything. Liara emerged from her ship, her luminous eyes fixed on him. She moved with her usual grace, calm and commanding. "Ethan," she said softly, "the time has come to formalize the bond. You have proven courage, intelligence, and honor. You have acted with wisdom, creativity, and loyalty. Now, the choice is yours." Ethan's heart raced. For 16 years he had joked about this, never imagining it would become reality. Now, the moment had arrived. He looked at her, not just as the alien girl from a distant planet, but as someone who had guided him, challenged him, and shown him the possibilities beyond his world. He began, his voice uncertain. He paused, taking a deep breath. "I don't know if I can put it into words, but I trust you. I respect you. And I want this. Not because of the joke I made, but because of who you are and what you've shown me." Liara's eyes glimmered softly. "Then the bond is accepted." She stepped closer, her presence warm but powerful. "It is not simply a promise kept. It is a partnership, a recognition of the strengths of both our species. It is mutual respect, understanding, and commitment. Ethan nodded slowly, feeling a wave of relief, joy, and anticipation. The galaxy had opened itself in a way he had never imagined. A joke, a careless promise, had brought him to this moment, and now it had become real. The Xylaran Council observed silently, their glowing eyes reflecting approval. The bond was recognized not only by Liara, but by her people. Humans had shown courage, ingenuity, and honor, earning respect even from beings who had watched the stars for centuries. As the sun rose higher, Liara took Ethan to her ship. He had walked among her world for only a short time, but already he felt a deep connection. She showed him the interiors, the technology, and the systems that allowed the Xylarans to navigate space with precision and grace. Ethan marveled, but also realized something important. Human creativity and intuition could match even the most advanced technology when used wisely. "You have learned quickly," Liara said, observing him as he studied a complex navigation console. "Your people's unpredictability, your ability to adapt, and your courage are remarkable. It is why you are worthy." Ethan smiled faintly. "Thanks. But I think you've taught me even more than I taught myself." Liara inclined her head. "That is the way of growth. You learn from challenges, from cooperation, and from understanding others. You have embraced that, and it is why the bond is now complete." Over the following days, Ethan and Liara worked together with the colony, sharing knowledge and improving defenses, systems, and everyday life. Humans and Xylarans began to cooperate more closely, learning from one another. Ethan's quick thinking, combined with Liara's advanced technology, created solutions that neither could achieve alone. The colony thrived. Fear and uncertainty faded, replaced by curiosity, cooperation, and admiration. Humans were no longer just colonists. They were innovators, problem solvers, and partners to a species far older and more advanced than themselves. And Ethan, once a boy who joked about marrying an alien girl, now stood as a symbol of human ingenuity and courage. One evening, as the twin suns of the system dipped below the horizon, Ethan and Liara stood on the edge of the colony, looking at the stars. The sky was vast, endless, and full of possibility. "You know," Ethan said quietly, 16 years ago I never imagined this would happen. I thought it was just a joke." Liara's eyes glimmered softly. "Even jokes can have power, Ethan. Words carry weight when spoken with intent. Your words led to growth, courage, and understanding. The universe has ways of responding that even your people cannot predict." Ethan laughed softly. "I guess I learned that the hard way, but I wouldn't change a thing." Liara inclined her head slightly. "Neither would I. This bond is not only between us, but also between our species. It is a beginning, not an end. The galaxy is vast, and there are countless lessons, adventures, and discoveries ahead." Ethan nodded, feeling a deep sense of purpose. He realized that being human meant more than survival. It meant courage, creativity, adaptability, and the willingness to face the unknown. And with Liara by his side, he felt ready for whatever the stars might bring. The bond that began as a joke had grown into something far greater: trust, respect, and partnership. Ethan understood now that the universe was not just a place of danger or challenge. It was a place of opportunity, connection, and growth. The colony celebrated quietly that night, honoring both the humans and the Xylarans who had defended their home. Children played under the glow of alien lights. Colonists shared stories of bravery, and Ethan watched, feeling proud, humbled, and alive. Liara stood beside him, a silent presence that radiated calm strength. For the first time, Ethan understood fully that life was unpredictable, strange, and extraordinary. What had started as a joke, a careless promise at a birthday party, had led him to adventure, danger, understanding, and a bond that would last far longer than anyone could have imagined. The stars stretched endlessly above, and Ethan smiled. He was no longer just a human on a distant colony. He was a partner, a friend, and a symbol of what humanity could achieve. And with Liara by his side, the universe felt full of promise, waiting for the next challenge, the next discovery, and the next adventure. And so, 16 years after a careless joke, Ethan's life had changed forever. He had learned that courage, creativity, and honor could shape the galaxy, and that sometimes even the smallest words could lead to the greatest journeys. The adventure had only just begun.